for this session is Andre with Gardner's
Orchard.
Yeah.
There you go.
And strawberries and other things.
That berry farm, whatever.
And so, farm that we're visiting tomorrow, and Andre's going to go over kind of what we're going to see tomorrow.
Yeah. I'll show you guys a lot of my failures. So I guess we'll get started here. So the first slide here is who am I? You know, I always like to start this. So everybody on social media knows me as Farmer Dre because I got a YouTube channel where I upload funny videos of me talking. That's a video of me talking to my funny camera there. I did graduate from Missouri State University with my bachelor's in horticulture last spring. Didn't get an official graduation because COVID, but hey, I got my diploma. That's all that matters. So how I started farming, I didn't mention I'm 23 years old. I'm still a young kid. Every conference I go to, I feel like I'm the only younger person in the room. But you know, we're bringing farming back. Farming's going to be cool again, right? So the reason I started farming, so my parents bought an old rundown orchard back in 2013. It was mainly apples and peaches, mainly apples, about 20 acres of apples, mainly U-pick. And the previous owner, Cliff Plastert, he was getting on in age. His family didn't want to take over the farm, so he's like, you know what, if I don't sell in the next 2 to 3 years, I'm dozing down all the trees. So we bought in 2013, so I was a sophomore in high school at that time, and the trees haven't been pruned for many years. They're super tall, and nobody cared for them. So I remember coming home from school every day, couldn't play any sports or anything like that because we had to prune 20 acres of apple trees. It was the worst thing ever. I finally graduated high school in 2016 and started going to college. You know, I'm going to be this young, smart engineer or whatever, make $1 million a year doing something. And I took financial accounting, which I absolutely hated. I don't know if you guys like accounting or not, but that wasn't for me. It's like, what can I do with my life that I enjoy doing and doesn't require much math? So I was like, well, I guess the farm isn't too bad. So I transferred from OTC. I was just doing general education to horticulture. So in 2017, it's not an official year or anything. I just kind of took over production at Gardner's. You know, I just kind of stepped in there, working more with my dad, figuring things out. And at the time, everybody was figuring things out. And I always say I'm in charge of everything that dies. That shouldn't be too funny, but, you know, we try to make it happen. So expanding the farm, so just from apples and peaches, we put our first high tunnel up through the NRCS High Tunnel Equipped Grant 2018, planted more peaches, first block high density apples, blackberries, strawberries, and blueberries. And we started a farmer's market in spring of 2016. We had a bunch of apples left over in the cooler from the previous owner. So hey, we got to get rid of these. So we started a farmer's market and started realizing, hey, there's good money to be made at farmer's market selling stuff, especially fruit, since there's not much fruit in this area. But we quickly realized that it was a lot of work. You know, we got to get up, especially Saturday mornings, 4:35, go to market, load the truck, you know, full of stuff, go to market, sit there for 4 or 5 hours, sell stuff, and come back home. But in a way, it was a give-take because, you know, we're also going to go to farmer's market and sell your product to make money. So we got our first high tunnel in 2018. Oh, this is the first year of me growing it. We actually got done installing in 2017 through the NRCS High Tunnel Equipped. So whenever we first started going to farmer's market, we realized, especially the market that we went to, there wasn't that many tomatoes there, and everybody had tomatoes would sell out. So then we got interested in talking to other farmers, made a lot of friends, and figured out that the NRCS gives out high tunnels if you have a garden, if you grow stuff. So hey, why not? You know, initially it's a free tunnel, so who doesn't like free stuff, right? So we went ahead and put up our first tunnel here, and I knew absolutely nothing about growing tomatoes. All we knew was pruning apple trees with a chainsaw, you know. That's the only farming experience I had. So I did 6 rows of tomatoes and a row of cucumbers, and I just chose a bunch of varieties, Red Deuce, Big Beef, Carolina Gold, some Brandywine, some heirlooms, just all kinds of stuff because I didn't know what I was doing. So ending off the first season of tomatoes, I thought I was doing so good. Oh, 5,000 pounds of tomatoes. You can't beat that. 11 pounds per plant. I was so excited. Actually, I wasn't because I was kind of disappointed. The plants are just, tomatoes are ugly. You couldn't sell them. They're all seconds. I mean, just worst thing ever. So what did I learn in the first year? This is one of the biggest shockers to me. You know, first of all, there's a big demand for farm fresh tomatoes. And you know, those big beefs are indeterminate, so I was pruning them to the single stem and quickly realized that indeterminates for us on our farm, since we're so diverse, it just takes too much of my time and energy to go through there and prune them and stake them up. So I was like, you know what? I'm only growing into determinate varieties. And, you know, variety selection is huge, so I chose to go with Carolina Gold, which is a yellow tomato, and Red Deuce. And at Farmers Market, all the tomatoes we took, you know, of course, they sold them all because there's a big demand. Not many people had farm fresh tomatoes at the Farmers Market. And another big thing I learned was about fertilizers. So I planted the plants in the high tunnel about the middle of March, and, you know, didn't really do much. Just let them grow, you know, like the grafting guy was saying. Just, you know, they don't require much, right? Just let them in there. Just make sure the sides are down so they don't get too hot. Water them occasionally, and you have tomatoes. But I was wrong. So they require a lot more fertilization than I thought. I mean, I was a 19-year-old kid at this time, didn't know what was going on. And, you know, the only reason I started asking about the fertilizers is because the plants were absolutely loaded with tomatoes. The tomatoes just green, and we're sitting there for 3 weeks and didn't do nothing. Not a single ripe one. I was like, what is going on here? And quickly realized that I didn't have enough potassium in the soil and needed to do that. And also, big thing is weed control. This picture right here, as you could tell, that Johnson grass loves it in the high tunnel. I actually had some that was over 12 foot tall, so that's some good stuff. So starting off the second season was in 2019. By the way, all the pictures that are on my PowerPoint are off our farm and that we took, so nothing off Dr. Google there. But I told myself, you know what, I'm growing only Red Deuce and Carolina Golds, determinate varieties. Weed control, put down a bunch of black fabric, plastic down. Started early, so we realized that the earlier the better. That's what makes the money at Farmers Market. If you could have tomatoes middle of May and June, that's the cash crop right there. You charge $3.50 to $4 a pound. Why not? So I seeded the tomatoes on Christmas Day, so by the end of February, they're ready to go in the ground. And I was going to fertilize them weekly with the high potassium fertilizer, get that going, making sure everything is perfect, because I knew everything at this time. So this is some pictures of our high tunnel. We did build a small greenhouse there. That's me amending the soil, incorporating there in the ground. And then, of course, for heat, we were always too cheap to put a propane heater. So my dad was like, you know what? Let's just build a propane burner. Something that we could heat the soil, the air with, and that's super cheap and efficient. I mean, forests and woods are everywhere, right? So we went ahead and built this propane heater out of a 300-gallon propane tank and a 70-gallon air tank there. And, you know, not knowing much, like, well, if the soil is cold, tomatoes aren't going to grow much. And we went ahead and put a bunch of PEX pipe underneath the ground there to heat up that soil. And we were ready for planting. So this is second year growing tomatoes, all determinate varieties. The plastic was there for the weed control. I was doing everything correctly, right? And look at those pictures. Plants are absolutely beautiful. But when it came to harvest, first week of May, second week of May comes around, third, fourth week of May, nothing starts turning red. Middle of June, nothing starts going on, and we finally get our first tomato. I was like, what's going on? Why are my tomatoes not turning red? And started talking to other growers. Do any of you guys know why tomatoes don't turn red? Go ahead, try, just guess. I have my answer. I'm not sure how correct my answer is. This is my guesstimated experience here, but I say it's the temperature. And talking to other farmers and found some stuff online. So for every night the temperature is below 42 degrees in the tunnel, you lose a week worth of harvest down the road. I'm not sure how accurate this is, but it sure worked because I didn't pick tomatoes until about the middle of June. So like Dr. Snyder was saying, the ideal temperature is between 64 degrees. So whenever we were heating it with wood, I mean, I was a 20-year-old, 20-year-old kid at the time, who wanted to wake up at 3, 4 in the morning and put wood on the fire? So if it didn't get down to freezing, I was like, who cares? They'll be fine until the morning. 35 degrees, not a big deal. But, you know, you got to get a lot of ugly fruit. The tomatoes didn't ripen in time, so I'm not sure how accurate my answer is there, but maybe? Yeah?
Yeah, too cold.
Yeah, too cold?
Joe, what do you think? Too cold, absolutely.
Yeah.
Plus, once you have fruit, it's chill sensitive. And it's chill sensitive on the plant and off.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be?
So my estimate.
That's the other point, the chilling. Tomatoes are sensitive to chilling temperature below 60. It doesn't die, but it takes time to recover, to repair itself.
So, I mean, we had multiple nights where it was in the like 35, 37 in the high tunnel. I was like, it's all right. Who wants to wake up? So the ending of 2019, we started harvesting last week of June, and into July. It was one of my best years yet. I mean, on that pallet right there, so we picking half bushel peach boxes. That's 1,400 pounds in one picking out of a 30 by 96 tunnel. So the plants really came on. The plants are huge, and you know, didn't get that early price, but overall the year was good. Good quality fruit, high yielding tomatoes, and I was excited. And I was like, man, next year I'm gonna heat it up real nice. So things I learned from 2019 season: temperature was the biggest thing that I learned. And another thing, this is just the trellising, Florida weave method on the determinants. I put T-post up every 5 plants. I was just too far, just from my physical standpoint. Now I do 3 plants between each post there, so it helps out a lot better. But our customers in the 2018-2019 season started falling in love with the red deuce tomato. It's just a good flavor, and everybody started loving it. So the fall of 2020, we put up our 2019, we put up our second high tunnel. Once again through the NRCS high tunnel equip grant. So I had 2 high tunnels to have fun in. So in 2020, I had to fill up 2 high tunnels full of tomatoes. Of course, plant them different times, 2 months apart. Have the peak season at 2 different timings because they are determined. So you get a 4 to 6 week harvest. And the goal was to get 30 pounds per plant. So starting off the 2020 season, I heated everything correctly. You know, waking up 3 to 4 times a night, putting wood on the fire. Trust me, going to college and having homework and putting wood on the fire is really fun. So I did it. I picked our first tomatoes April 28th in 2020. So I was really excited about that. But the honeymoon years are over. So now we got disease issues, botrytis. So one thing I didn't do is I didn't take off those bottom suckers on the determinants, because hey, why not? More the merrier. Put some more fertilizer through there. They'll start growing nice tomatoes. So the only disease issue I had in the 2020 season is botrytis, and another fail. I feel like I'm only sharing with you guys my failures here. So in our second high tunnel, I didn't start the seeds in time, so I went up to our local produce auction. I was like, yeah, I could just buy some plants from there. They're all labeled as red deuce. I bought a flat of Carolina Golds, and they were mislabeled plants. And worst idea ever. Don't ever go to a produce auction and buy plants if you're going to plant them in your high tunnel for your own production, for your own customers. Just because, I mean, you just never know what's going on there. And don't build your trellis cheap. So instead of spending $4 or $5 on a T-post, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go get some wooden stakes. We talked to a lumber yard who makes pallets and stuff. They gave us a bunch of strips of the small 1 inch by 1 inch, 1 inch by 2 inch pieces of wood. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. So this is our high tunnel number 2 here last year. Not only the tomato plants were just terrible, the entire trellis system fell over. So it was an absolute terrible year in the second tunnle. But the biggest teacher in life is failure. So if you're not willing to fail, you're not willing to learn. That's how I look at it. So at the ending of 2020 season, I did average 25 pounds per plant out of the first tunnel. High tunnel number 2 obviously was a complete fail. Worst plants, trellis fell over. And the end of 2020, we added 2 more tunnels on the farm.
You are
so,
such a farmer.
so hey, the more the merrier, right? So yeah, so now we have 4 tunnels on the farm. You guys will see those tomorrow. So I want to hit on some field tomatoes here real quick because everybody asks for field tomatoes. Starting in July, hey, do you have any field tomatoes? Field tomatoes, everybody wants field tomatoes. So then you start growing field tomatoes and you take them to the farmer's market. People look at them. Do you have field tomatoes? Yeah, they're right here. Nah, I'd rather pay $4 a pound. It's like, you guys keep asking for them. I grow them. They're not that pretty because they're field tomatoes, and you guys don't want them. So it's really hard making field tomatoes look pretty. I don't know, maybe I'm just a bad farmer when it comes to growing tomatoes out in the field. Can't make them look good. So I tried, this was in 2018. I grew about 700 or 800 plants out in the field. Trellised them up, nice clean grass there. and I just couldn't charge a high price because they just weren't, weren't that good looking. And maybe some variety selection would have made my life easier there. But staking field tomatoes, yield doesn't pay for labor, especially on our operation, on my own skin here. So this is the way I grow field tomatoes. I'm sorry about the blurry pictures, as I took some screenshots off my YouTube channel last night when I was putting this together. So we grow them like cucumbers, no trellis, on black plastic. We do have a plastic mulch layer for the strawberries, and just lay them down flat and let them go to town. Customers who want field tomatoes, well, I'll have some for them. We usually sell most of the field tomatoes at a cheaper price by the box. We usually sell a half bushel box for like $12, $15, canners, coils, and whatnot. So everybody can grow tomatoes. Where are you going to sell them? And this is one thing that I tell people even on my YouTube channel, or customers that come out to the farm. Oh, I want to grow so many tomatoes. I'm like, oh, great. That's awesome. Well, where are you going to sell them? Everybody could grow an expensive compost pile. I mean, I can't, and I don't know that much about tomatoes, but everybody can grow a really expensive compost pile. So always do your market research before you plant your tomatoes. So the fastest way to grow your tomatoes, in my opinion, is at farmer's market. You pile them high and watch them fly, right? You load your tables full of tomatoes. This is at one of the farmers markets we go to. And as long as, if we don't fill a 6-foot table full of tomatoes, about 3 stack, we don't sell them. And customers are, whenever they see abundance, they don't mind putting another 2-3 tomatoes in the bag because they see so many. So that's why at farmers market, I could go through 400 or 500 pounds of tomatoes, while Billy Joe, the vendor next to me, who grows tomatoes, has a little bit of strip there of tomatoes on his table and doesn't sell that many. So pile them high and watch them fly. I always say pile them up to the ceiling if possible. So a funny story, one of my dad's friends, this is at the Bolivar Farmers Market, he was driving by through the square, and this was mid-June, so I had a line of customers waiting to get tomatoes. And he saw the line of people. He turns his car around and comes to see what's going on at the farmer's market. Why is there a line of people standing in front of this booth? And he's like, that's just Andre selling his tomatoes. What's going on here? But customers were seeing my tomatoes off the main strip there because I fill the tables full of farm fresh tomatoes. And the biggest thing, this is what I want to hit on here, is marketing. Like I said, always do your market research before you even plant. See if your customers want you and your tomatoes. So social media is all about repetition and being consistent. So whenever you're doing social media, of course, for a local business, Facebook is the most common and the most lucrative whenever it comes to converting customers to sales on your farm. Of course, Instagram and YouTube help out a lot as well. But showing the process from start to finish is what sells. Telling the story. That's what I like to say is, you start the seeds. Customers, you post a 2-minute video of you seeding tomatoes in January, and then whenever it's time to transplant, customers like seeing that repetition, that consistency, and love seeing the process from start to finish. And then, this is just I hate to say this, but the average person stays on their phone for 5.5 hours per day. Why not be your content? Social media is free to everybody. So that's why I go by the name Farmer Dre. So this is, as of last night, my followers on YouTube. So I have 26,000 followers on YouTube currently, where I talk about tomatoes and whatnot of our farm. So this is the watch time of my channel in the last 3 years. So that's 174,000 hours watched. That converts to about 20 years worth of content that people have watched me growing tomatoes. So growing tomatoes, all the other crops we grow here on the farm. So customers like to correlate a face with a farm. So if you're only posting on social media or on Facebook and you're never showing your face, how is that person supposed to know which booth to go to at the farmer's market? But if they see your face 24/7, I'm not that good looking, but it still sells, But if they see your face at farmer's market and they see your face on Facebook, like, I know this guy. Even though you never met him or talked to him before, like, this guy looks familiar, so I'm going to go buy from him. And so adding up all the social media platforms on our farm in total with Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, That's getting pretty popular nowadays. So a funny story about that. So we posted a TikTok video of us making apple cider, and it blew up in their algorithm and got like over 1 million views. And that actually converted to sales on the farm. People, or the people who watched that video, have never seen our farm that live down the road, and they came off of TikTok and bought apple cider. So that 30 seconds that took you to make that funny, dumb video, that just converted into a $10 sale. Now, if you could do that to 203,000 followers that we have in total on our farm, then you'll be a well-off farmer, and then you wouldn't need a farm anymore, right? No, I'm just messing around. But so moving forward, I finally bought a propane heater for my greenhouse. I got smart, you know. Wisdom comes with age, I think. I don't know. I'm still young. So my personal goal, and this is, I don't know why I have this number, I want 15 30 by 96 high tunnels one day. And it's going to happen. So that's our wood stove there that we use to heat with a propane the heater there. And I'm always the kind of person to always try new things, and I'm willing to learn. So this is at one of my friend's farm out in Kansas City. This is how he grows his determined tomatoes. He plants 2 foot between the row spacing there, and then 4 foot. So he says he could go through and reach 1 foot between his plants and pull out and never need to walk in between that. So I took his idea, and I'm going to try it in one of our tunnels this year. So if you guys come by the farm tomorrow, you guys will see all kinds of weird stuff, because I mean, I like to try. Like I said, the biggest teacher in life is failure. So if you're not willing to try new things, how are you supposed to learn? How are you supposed to gain more knowledge? And yep, the 2021 season. So this picture was taken a couple weeks ago. I did try growing some big Dinas just because generally, and this is what I heard, indeterminates are about 2 weeks earlier in production than determinants. I don't know how accurate that is or not. But I'm growing indeterminates, which I told myself I am never growing an indeterminate variety again. It just takes too much time and energy. But this year I got spontaneous during the winter months and called and ordered 200 big Dina seeds and planted them. And also this fall we planted 3 acres of strawberry. So guess where I'm spending more of my time? In the strawberry field. So I'm like, why did I even try planting indeterminate tomato plants? So got, of course, the Red Deuce and Carolina Golds. We've been harvesting. So I picked my first tomato, was in May 2nd or 3rd out of the tunnel. So start taking some farmer's market, or May 1st, there you go. And trying to get that earlier production of those big Dina tomatoes. The nice thing about indeterminate tomatoes is they look cool for thumbnails on YouTube. People will watch a video if a title and thumbnail on the video looks like that. So we're gonna have 4 tunnels full of tomatoes this year. And we're able to sell that many pounds of tomatoes with the power of social media. And planted a few field tomatoes. So next year, I'm always, like I said, I'm always thinking, generating new ideas. So since the botrytis is becoming an issue, I want to start growing in containers. So since our tunnel is an NRCS high tunnel, we got it through the NRCS, it's a 5-year contract, so it can't grow in any containers for 5 years. But then I got smart. I was like, what if I cut the bottom of the containers and allow the roots to penetrate down into the original soil? But I was like, what's the point of doing that if it's going to still be available to the old soil? So I'm still debating and going back and forth. And like I said earlier, tomatoes isn't the main crop on our farm. So we're mainly a fruit farm. So our goal is to have you pick fruit May through October. So tomatoes for us is just on the side to take to farmer's market. And you won't find any other crop that will grow as well and make you as much money as you will out of a high tunnel. So this is it, short and sweet, get to the point. I'm not sure what time it is, but any questions? And one thing I'm going to tell you guys from now, if you guys see anything on our farm tomorrow that is to correct me, tell me, because I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to try something new. And if I'm doing something wrong, tell me right off the bat. So I won't do that that problem one more time. So
Believe me, they will.
yeah, that's why I whenever they asked, hey, do you want to come by the farm? I'm like, why not?
Only for the confident farmer, this kind of thing.
Oh yeah, tell me what I'm doing wrong so I won't do it again, which I probably will do it again. So that's our tomato production on our farm in a nutshell. So, questions, comments? Yes?
I got a couple of questions. First of all, what do you recommend for what fertilizers work best for you?
So for the past...
Please repeat the question.
Oh, so what's the best fertilizer, or what fertilizer?
Best for you, yeah.
For me, so the best fertilizer that I found out is the Master Blend Tomato Formula. I think it's a 41838. And it's used in hydroponics. I'm not sure how well it is for soils, but I'm trying it. And I occasionally, once a week, I add some calcium nitrate and some magnesium sulfate to that formula. But I'm trying to get those potassium numbers pretty high in the plants so we get large fruits. That's what sells at farmer's market. The bigger the fruit, the better on the fertilizers.
The second question is, what do you use for pest control?
So that's just all IPM. I walk through there. And one of the reasons I didn't mention is that we only grow determinate varieties because I got to go through the high tunnel in 10, 12, 15 minutes a week and prune them up instead of spending the time in pruning, tying up, leaning and lowering. So that's why I do the determinate. So if I'm in the high tunnel working and tying up tomatoes half hour, 45 minutes a week, I'm able to monitor for that. And we have the roll down sides on our curtain, on our tunnel. So every single day I'm walking through there, just double checking. But I've just been using the book there, whatever, I forget what it's called, the spray guide.
Oh, the Midwest.
Yeah, vegetable. So if I see an issue and we have the chemical in the trailer there for the orchard, I just apply it at the right rates. So this year, you guys will see this tomorrow, I'm fighting some spider mites. I'm having some spider mites, so I tried our second high tunnel full of strawberries, high tunnel strawberries, and those are infested with spider mites, and I think some carried over in our first one. So, and the only reason I like the individual tunnels is because if you have an insect infestation in one of them, it doesn't affect the rest of your, the rest of the bays like you would in Gutter Connect. But they are really expensive to install one single one at a time. So that's why we're 1 year at a time, keep on putting more up. Anything else? Yes.
I gotta say, I love your energy. It's really
man.
exciting that you're
Yeah.
excited. I want to encourage you to put some kind of rotation in there, my
Yeah.
friend. Like even a cover crop cycle or something.
Yeah, so
Don't
one
bring
thing,
up that soil.
I do over the winter, I plant either some grass, or last year I did tillage radishes, daikon, over the winter months. But for us, that's the only crop we ever grow in there. So I need to find another cash crop, something that's lucrative enough to plant in there during the summer months.
Some of
So-
our farmers have planted strawberries,
Yeah.
and then they get a really early crop that's beautiful.
Yeah, so you guys will see tomorrow in our second tunnel, I planted strawberries. I don't know if it's just me, but the flavor on the high tunnel strawberries is just disgusting. I don't know what the deal is, wrong varieties. So I planted 2-day neutral varieties and 2 June-bearing varieties.
You're growing with garlic, maybe?
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know what the deal is. Looking at the crop there, I'm like, I'm never growing high tunnel strawberries again. But I don't know, maybe I'm just,
Okay, I
Yeah.
know you're into the money, right? We're all into the money. What about ginger? What about a rotation with ginger?
Or turmeric?
yeah.
I mean, that would.
I've
be
never
a
looked
fine
into
out.
that,
Even
but-
just half the tunnel.
Mhm.
You know, you could try.
I'm all for it. If we do something, it's the full tunnel. Yeah. So I didn't mention, we do have a bakery there on the farm. So like all the second strawberries and stuff and the fruit, we add into the bakery products and the value added side of the farm. So yeah, if we're going to,
Bear that in mind for tomorrow. They have a bakery at the first place you go.
yeah, so I mean, I might look into that ginger and turmeric. I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, where are you?
We're just north of Springfield.
So, okay.
North of Springfield.
You know, yeah, I mean, cut flowers, you know.
Yeah.
Always
Well,
something to
yeah,
think
you can help that.
Yeah, so this summer I want to plant an acre of sunflowers on the field. So we're moving more, the farm is moving more towards agro-tourism because that's what sells. I mean, let's be honest. Fresh fruit is nice, but the money is, I mean, look at all these amusement parks, you know. That's what they're in. So we're building a petting zoo. We're going to be making more family-friendly activities on the farm. And of course, the fruit is there to attract the customers initially. But yeah, I'm always up to learn something. Yeah, I'll do a summer of ginger or something or flowers.
Play the banjo?
No, I'm too busy farming, you know. So any other questions or ideas?
What are you gonna do with your sunflowers? Just let people walk through them? Or
Yeah,
you
just charge an admissions fee to come through there and photo and probably do U-pick on those. So as many people will get out to the farm to spread that gardener name on Facebook is the only way to do it.
So was it the Great Plains Growers Conference? What was it this year that was online that had that agro-tourism guy from?
That's Vala's Pumpkin Patch or
Okay.
Apple Orchard, yeah.
Were you listening to his presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, how he had like the old timey car and
Yeah.
the bench. you know, so they could do engagement photos or
Like,
team
yeah.
photos.
So I've heard that guy speak before. I forget his name. Pat, you might know.
His name is Vaughn.
Vaughn, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
He was full of ideas. The butterfly release, I was like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, ideas are endless whenever you get into this industry. I mean, the sky's the limit, right? You could do anything in the world. And I know this is a tomato conference, but, you know, it's any idea is not too small for me. I'm like a sponge. I take everything in.
okay, then I'm gonna say one more. Mini horses.
Yeah. That's going to be part of our petting zoo there.
Right? I'm just
So.
gonna say it. I have this thing with mini horses. I think that they're.
Yeah. So,
Don't take the
yeah.
mini horses.
There you go. So whenever people come out to our farm in Yupik, we take them on a tractor ride all the way back to the strawberry field. And kind of a light bulb is a family rode the tractor 3 times around. And they asked me, of course, if they drive. I was like, yeah, if it's not busy, go ahead. And so that was like, man, people come out to the farm with their kids and they want to spend half a day, a full day on the farm. So why not create the full farm experience for them? You know, do the animals, do everything else, do the sunflowers, you pick fruit, and just, you know, the longer they spend on the farm, initially, the more money they're going to spend there. So, but yeah. Any other questions, ideas?
What do you do for pollination in your tunnels?
Put the sides down and let the wind do the rest of it. So I haven't had any problems with pollination yet. Maybe during the midsummer, whenever the gets too warm in there, flowers start falling off. But other than that,
I have one farmer who just sort of bangs the trellis as he goes.
yeah. So once a week, whenever you stake them up, you're pretty rough on the plants. To kind of sandwich on them between the floor to weave. So perfect. That was short and sweet, but
Any other questions before we?
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you.